I'm Carl Brown. I'm the sales director at Cobwebb, and I'm here to talk to you today about Cobwebb Cloud Capture, our AP automation software or solution for Infor ERP. I've got John Alabaster with me. He's a solution architect in our invoice automation part of the business. My colleague Barney was supposed to be joining us. Barney called in sick this morning, and then John has been substituted in at a late stage. But John's very experienced. It's the equivalent of Ronaldo being substituted in for Messi. So that's the equivalent we've got here. He's a big hitter, is John. Right. Agenda. So I'm going to tell you about what we're going to talk about today. We've got, first of all, I'm going to tell you who we are, who Cobwebb are and what we do. What is Cobwebb Cloud Capture? How does it work? I'm going to run through a slide on the process flow so you can see that end-to-end process. John is going to do the software demonstration. I will summarize at the end, and then we will hopefully have some time for questions. Before I move on to the next slide, I wanted to explain. So the blog, the 3-part blog series that went out in advance of this session, there was references to IntelliChief, and Barney, my colleague, asked me, why am I taking a swipe at IntelliChief? So I've been to InPower a number of times. I've had prospect calls, and so many customers, predominantly XA customers, have told me about their experiences with IntelliChief, and they've not really been very positive. Old technology, slow development, poor OCR. We expected more out of the automation. Reporting's difficult. All these sorts of things. So I keep hearing it. So I thought we would do a session on our solution, which is light years ahead of IntelliChief. If you are not using IntelliChief today, then this session is still relevant to you if you are looking to streamline your AP processes. So it's not a requisite that you need to be using IntelliChief in order to benefit from this. Right. So who is Cobwebb? We are document and process automation specialists. We automate processes around predominantly that are connected to documents. So if that's outbound documents, things like forms management, yep. So sending ERP generated documents out automatically via email, making them look good. And when it's inbound, we do a number of different inbound documents, but most of our projects start with supplier invoices. And then we might move to sales orders or delivery notes or something else. But most of our projects start with supplier invoices. We've got a lot of experience with Infor customers. 95% of our customers run Infor ERP, and probably 80% of those are on the IBM i platform. We've been an Infor partner for a long time, 20 years plus. And we also partner with a number of technology providers when it comes to automation and workflow. The product we're talking about here today is around AP automation, invoice automation, and we tend to partner with a company called Tungsten Automation for these solutions. Tungsten Automation used to be called Kofax, so you might have come across them in the past. They've been around a long time, so I'm highlighting them as a key partner here today. We are 40 years old this year. Cobwebb is 40 years old this year. I think Tungsten were 40 years old last year. So been around for a long time. Sadly, I was not 40 years old this year. I think you were, John, either. Right. Cobwebb Cloud Capture, what is it? So it is a cloud-based multi-tenant invoice processing solution. Right. So multi-tenant cloud, you're always on the latest version. It's built on the latest technology from Tungsten Automation. As I said, we partner with Tungsten. They've been in this business for many, many years, and they are experts in process automation, capture, latest technologies, latest platform is harnessing AI to improve extraction and increase automation. The platform we're talking about here has hundreds of millions of invoices going through it every year. It's there's a growing customer base across the globe, and we can and have integrated it to a number of different ERPs. It's an ERP agnostic solution, but we have pre-built integrations to XA, Enterprise Financials, and System 21. We would love to do a BPIX LX project too, if there's any LX customers on the call, but we haven't done one yet. Approval workflow functionality within, so you don't have to print off an invoice and walk it around the office and stick it on someone's desk for signing off, or you don't have to forward an email to someone and chase them, incessantly in order for them to respond, and full audit trail and analytics. Something that was pointed out to me with IntelliChief is the difficulty of getting reporting or analytics out the system. The analytics are really good. You've got an audit log of everything that happened to the invoice once it's been processed. And there is a new version of this platform coming out at the end of Q3 this year, version 2, which builds on the analytics and reporting and adds in more AI functionality. So that is coming down the line. We're going to take it from the left-hand side, from the left to the right. The document comes in to Cloud Capture and then runs through a number of automated steps. We can get predominantly what we're doing is we're picking up PDF invoices from incoming emails, but we can monitor folder locations. If someone has a physical printed invoice and wants to scan it to a folder location or to an email address, we can pick it up that way. But what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get the invoice processed with as few touches as possible. It's called straight through processing. Yeah. So up until point of your suppliers submit PDF invoices with multiple invoices in one PDF, then we can automatically separate those documents. We extract the data from the document that we need. We validate that data against your master data from your ERP. So we're checking things like, is that a valid PO for that supplier? But let's say that a piece of information that's extracted, that the system isn't 100% confident on it. So, is that an 8 or a B? Is that a 1 or an L? Yeah. So if it lacks confidence in the extraction, then that invoice is going to be queued up in the interface that John's going to show you, and it's going to be queued up for someone in AP to come and have a look at it. Once they've had a look at it, then and pushed it on its way, then that automated piece then picks up again. So that will automatically export the data to the ERP and automatically export a copy of the invoice with the audit log to the cloud-based storage. If you do have Infor document management, or you have a third-party document management system, then we can also export a copy of the document there as well. But what we're doing here is we're trying to automate as much as we possibly can, but we're not removing finance from the equation. Yeah, there will always be some manual intervention. This is about reducing the burden of manual keying and chasing approvals and trying to give you more visibility during this process. Yeah, so
thank you, Carl. Good introduction there. Thank you very much. I'm going to demonstrate the capture of invoices, and what I will be showing you will be two examples, a PO invoice and a non-PO invoice. So first of all, I'll just start by showing my screen. So, so this is a cloud application. as Carl mentioned. So I've taken you right from the beginning. We've got the URL here. We've gone onto the web page. We've bookmarked the website, and I've entered my username and password in. So this is an accounts payable user. So this user has got permission to do everything that you need to do with the invoices. And I'll just log in here. Notice you've also got login with Entra, or previously Azure AD. So it's got single sign-on. Single sign-on is possible with many different systems. We've got it set up here for Azure as well, but I'm not using Azure for this particular demo. Instantly, it's very quick to set up single sign-on for Azure. I think Carl and I, we did it on our meeting yesterday, well, a couple of days ago. Was it half an hour meeting? That was set up with a particular customer that wanted it there. So it's depending on your solution, it can be very straightforward for single sign-on. Right, okay, so we've come straight into what we call the verify screen. This shows the list of invoices that have arrived via email. So all these invoices would come in through your emails. The solution does host the email mailbox, and it will then import the emails from that email. So it's a complete solution. You can have your own emails directed automatically, or you could forward them on, or you could provide the email address to your suppliers if you wanted to. That's probably not something we recommend, but you can then have everything integrated through to this solution. The emails arrive, and you are able to receive multiple emails on multiple invoices on one email, or you can have multiple invoices in one attachment, or multiple attachments onto an email. Any configuration is fine. It will have an invoice separation method in there to be able to separate invoices if there are, for example, 3 invoices in the same PDF file. So this is the list of invoices. You can then select them by clicking on them. You can click the start button, and that will allow you to start verifying the invoices. We have a few things I can show you here. We've got the view image, and that will just jump in and show you the image. From there, you can choose to print it if you want to, but the print screen also has the save as, so you can download the PDF whilst the document is in the middle of being processed. Of course, the objective of this is to send the image and the data to your document archive and to your ERP. We also integrate, by the way, with Infor OS and IBM, as well as directly to the IBM iServer for different ERPs. So that would be the intention, that you would in future then download the images from your document repository or your content management system. But whilst the invoices are in progress, whilst they're being processed, you can get hold of them here. On each of these invoices, you also have the view document history. This provides you with the audit log, and you've got the dates, times, the events, what happened, who by, which user, and you can sometimes drill down depending on what's happened and see a list of changes and items that happen within that event. These documents have simply just been received and have extracted and processed. So the documents arrive, it then creates the text using the OCR technology, and it will also convert the image to a standard image format. Then it does an AI extraction based on identifying the correct field information for each field of the invoice, such as the invoice date, the invoice number, and then it will go through an automatic validation rules after it's done the extraction. And the invoice, if it needs to be validated, would stop here, and it would be pending manual verification. So if a validation rule fails, it will be pending manual verification. However, all invoices will initially stop to be verified by a user. So we can have them all stop. And then for each supplier, you can then click a box to say, I want the invoices to go straight through for this supplier if all the fields on that invoice are valid. If they've all been checked and they've passed the validation rules, the invoice is allowed to flow through with straight through processing only when you decide you want to do that on a supplier by supplier basis. So it puts you in control, and you're always the person who can effectively initiate the flow of the invoices to go through automatically. So on this screen, we have the usual modern interface, the graphical user interface features you would expect. So we can move columns around. We've got them here moving around. We can also resize the columns. We can filter the columns. So I can just type in, for example, invoice 1, on this and press enter, that's actually needs to be searched from the beginning, I think, and it will filter for that invoice. And then you've got a button up here and you can clear all the filters. So you can build a lot of searches along the top of the fields and you can filter for them. You can also sort the invoices. You can see invoice 1 to 4 there. So if I click the file name, I can sort it descending and I can sort it ascending. So all the column headings you can sort on as well. The solution is able to be implemented for multiple subdivisions. And this is what the Tungsten application is referring to as a buyer. So this is the buying company, the company that's buying the goods and processing the invoice for payment. So the subdivision, the legal entity, or your company code is referred to as a buyer in this system. And you can have multiple buyers. And as you can see, there are a couple of companies listed here. We do implement solutions for, I think we're currently implementing a solution where there's about 14 subdivisions in the EMEA region. That we also have US companies with subdivisions. So it basically allows you to have the one implementation to cater for all of your companies within the holding company. And you can have people within your business who are able to then have access permissions to particular companies within your business. Now, a little bit more information about this screen. We're looking at the verify list here, but you can also look at any invoices that have been rejected or put on hold, or all invoices that are in progress. So I'm just going down the list on the left-hand side, and that will give you a different filtered list of the invoices. They all look the same as this screen. They're just a filter on which invoices you're displaying. So currently there are no invoices on hold. So I'll go back to the verify list. So what I'll do now is I'll jump straight into an invoice and I'll choose a nice happy path so that we can look at the first example and see an invoice that has gone through successfully. So we've got this one here. In the file name, you might notice that I've given it a name that says matches successfully. So if I just double click on that to open it, what you can do is also click the start button and you can sequentially go through all the invoices without having to go back to the list, and they'll open one after another, and it enables you to do the invoice review and verification very quickly. So in this invoice, what we have is an invoice in the middle. You can see that there's the invoice. I can zoom in and out using the wheel mouse, can move it around, and I've got all my zoom controls here. I can actually best fit width, height, and rotation for the document. I've also got the page forward and page back buttons on the left there. This is a single page, so there are no page back or forward buttons. On the right-hand side, you can see the invoice header fields. They're all listed from top to bottom. And the idea is that you work through those fields from top to bottom. And as you resolve any issues, it will resolve other issues further down. So if you start at the top and work through, it really helps you. It works on the basis of seeing these green ticks next to a field, which it means that that field has passed the validation rule, and therefore it's assumed to be correct. Initially, you'd always want to check it anyway, but this system has a tremendous ability for trainability, machine learning, and it's very responsive to user training. Things really do work out very well. The more you own this, the lower the cost of ownership goes down as you spend less and less time processing through your invoices, and as they begin to automate more and more and just flow through. We have an orange warning triangle on the invoice number, and that's because it's a duplicate invoice number. So I've done this demo a number of times, and it's seen this invoice number for this same supplier before, and so it's flagging this up to me and saying, you know, watch out, there's a duplicate invoice here. You don't want to pay it twice. Obviously, it wouldn't match twice in your ERP, but this is the first level or the first stage where it can catch that issue. And then perhaps if you find it here, then you can have a workflow within this solution to be able to catch that issue, and then you can send that invoice to the AP team. They can contact the supplier, and they can ask, sort things out with the supplier. So workflows are possible based on validation rules and any invoices being rejected or corrections. You can pick up workflows there. So in order to accept the fields, you tab down. If there is an orange field like the one I'm on now, I press tab and it shows me the message. I can override that by pressing enter. I don't need to take my hand off the keyboard, and I can keep tabbing down. And when everything is valid, you can see that the OK button goes green, and that solid green means that I've effectively finished with this invoice and I can send it through. But I would just like to show you at the bottom here, we have got the invoice lines. The invoice lines are listed, and when you click on them, you can see the area on the document. If I zoom in, you can see the little line here that goes around, that puts a box around the field, and you can click anywhere on the document to see those boxes. And it works also on the header fields. The invoice number here, you can see where that was extracted from, and it gives you the context to be able to know that the field value that's taken from the document is actually the correct value, because there could be many dates. Actually, it's actually yeah, the issue date, that's okay. But there could be, you know, it's got a due date as well. It might have picked up the wrong date. It's quite unlikely with AI, but if you correct it, it will learn from your corrections. And by the way, all your training that you do is ring-fenced for that particular supplier, so you don't have to worry that it's going to affect any other suppliers when you're training the invoice extraction. Training the extraction is incredibly simple. If I did want to pick up the due date for this, I just double click on the due date, and I've actually shown it on the invoice where to get that date from. Obviously that's the wrong date, so I want to train it to pick up the issue date. So it's gone back to the date. I've just double clicked on that field, and that puts the value into the field here. There's no typing needed, but it's also going to remember from now on to get that date from that position on the document for this particular supplier. On the invoices, this is a three-way match invoice. What it's doing effectively is a pre-match check. So it's matching to check that you have a purchase order line that corresponds to this invoice line. It checks the price on the purchase order to make sure that the invoice price is not greater than your purchase order price. And it also checks the quantity here, and the accumulated deliveries for the purchase order lines are uploaded as master data, and they're refreshed on a frequent basis to keep the solution up to date with your deliveries and with your purchase order data. And it's therefore able to check that the invoice quantity has got the available goods received but not invoiced quantity on the purchase order or from your receipts. And to prove that point, it has actually put the PO line number. So it's found the purchase order line, matched it, and it's brought back the PO line. There is also a little magnifying glass where you can look up the PO lines, and you can see here all the PO lines that relate to that invoice line. If you need to relate an invoice line to a particular PO line to marry them up, to pair them for matching, you can just select the line at this time. There are a number of things you can do. If you want to, you can copy in the lines. So I can actually use this button here, and I can view the purchase order lines, and I could tick the particular lines from the PO that I want to use for this invoice. And then you can click on OK to bring in those lines. It will then automatically add up the sum of the net amounts from those lines, and it will check that those lines sum to the net amount total for the invoice to make sure that everything is not beyond the actual value that's been printed on the invoice. So the invoice is key. The invoice is the important thing, not your data in the ERP. Obviously, the data is important, but we need to make sure that everything is checked against your supplier's invoice. So this is a happy path invoice. This has been matched, so we can just click on OK, and that will send that to your ERP. And there's nothing more to do with that. It did not need to go into the workflow because it's had the pre-match check, and it's passed the three-way matching. Incidentally, you do not need to use three-way matching. If you want to have invoices with two-way matching, just between the invoice and the purchase order, you can use that, and you can omit the receipts matching. If you want to have no matching done, you can still do that, and it's still able to verify that the purchase order number is found for that supplier. What it does is it does this double checking of associating a supplier code with the invoice layout, and then it will extract the purchase order, and it will make sure that the supplier from that purchase order matches the supplier that's been paired up with the invoice. So it double checks that it's got the correct supplier there. So now if I might show another invoice, we actually have one with a price error. And so this one here, you can see I've put price error on the description of the field there. Incidentally, on this screen, you also have other columns which tell you information about the invoice. So it's very easy to see where the invoices have come from. You've got the supplier name, your purchase order number that's been extracted, the amount, the invoice number from the supplier, the invoice date, and various information. You can also see how the invoice is currently being processed, so whether it's been put on hold, when it was put on hold, who put it on hold, and you can see if it's in a workflow. You can actually widen these columns. It's a bit narrow, but you'll be able to see the name of the workflow, whether it's an approver workflow or a GL coding workflow, and which approver the invoice has been sent to. Right, so if I just go into the next invoice, I can just double click on this one. Again, this is a PO invoice. This time it has failed the three-way matching check. So I'll zoom out and I can show you the lines. And if we just move this up here, we can see the lines that have been extracted from the invoice. And in this case, we can see that the tab for the item lines has got an orange warning triangle on it. And that tells us that there's somewhere on the lines is an issue that we need to look out for. And if you look into the lines, you can see the orange border that's around this particular box. And you can see that the product for internal doors has got an issue with the price. So if we go and drill down on those lines and look at the internal doors, we can see here it is. And the unit price is 80 on this particular line. So if I cancel that and come out, you can see that the price here is 180. So it's obviously a considerable increase in the price on this. So what you need to do in this case is that you could either accept the price. If it was a tolerated price, you could just tab off of this, and you can choose to hit enter to accept the price. So it says, do you want to ignore this error? And if I hit enter, it will select the yes, or you can use the mouse. Or I can press escape to get rid of that window. In this case, I want to reject this invoice. So I'm going to go to the top here. You've got a number of buttons up here, and the one with the cross is reject. And if I reject this, you can see there's a lot of reject reasons in here. You can create all your own reject reasons. And the reject reason I'm going to select is hopefully going to be in here. Wrong price. Okay, that's convenient. And there's a little description that goes in. You can add your text, and you can say invoice rejected due to line number. You can give it whatever. It's 50, isn't it? PO line number 50 because wrong price. You can give it any description you like, and then you click on OK, and it rejects that invoice. Now, if I go and view the invoices looking at the in progress, where I see all of them, you can see I've got the thumbs down, and it gives me that global view of invoices to see very quickly any rejected invoice. But you've also got a filter screen here, so we can click on rejected, and you can see all rejected invoices in one go. So if you're in the AP team and you need to manage your rejected invoices, you've got them in the list here. I mentioned earlier on, you've got workflows within the solution, and each reject reason that you create has a reject reason code, and you can monitor for that reject reason code and send the invoice into a workflow, which is called a rejection workflow. And that could be sent, for example, if it's a wrong price, you could send it to someone in purchasing to check or procurement to check the PO pricing. If it was a delivery, the delivery was not found, perhaps you would want to send it to goods in. But there is also a feature in this where if the delivery is not found, it will automatically put the invoice on hold, and it will continuously check for the delivery over a set number of days that you can define until the delivery arrives. So it's very, very useful. This is one of the particularly useful features that if you've got an invoice that's arrived, quite often you get the email immediately the goods have been dispatched. So you get the email within seconds, but the goods might take several days to arrive. And then when the invoice arrives, it can effectively automatically do the three-way match check. It knows the goods haven't received, and then you can put it on hold, or it can go into the on hold waiting for the delivery. And you can say, for example, check for the next 5 days. And as soon as the delivery arrives, if everything else is validated, it will then just go straight through to the ERP, and you can get it onto the payment run. So that's a very useful feature. Now then, I've shown you this two PO invoices. If I go back to the verify list, let's have a quick look at a non-PO invoice. I've got a non-PO invoice here, and I'll just double click that to open it. Just to extend on the knowledge a little bit more, here's the invoice. There's no purchase order number on it. It's automatically come in and it's been classified as being an expense invoice. So it refers to expense invoices, but really they're just non-PO invoices. So if a purchase order number is not found, it will classify it as an expense invoice. You can, for your suppliers, using this button up here, you can go into your supply record, and you can actually say that this supplier requires purchase order numbers. So, for example, if it doesn't find a purchase order number on an invoice, but you're saying that invoices from this supplier should have a purchase order number, you can tick this box, and it will then classify the invoices as PO invoices, and it will get you to check, or maybe you'll need to reject it because there's no PO on the invoice, and you can contact the supplier for the PO number. So that's something you can do. The other very useful checkbox here is this allow complete documents to bypass the verification. So this is the checkbox that I mentioned earlier on, where you can have the straight through processing flow for those invoices that are validated successfully, and it refers to those as complete documents. Everything's completed successfully. So for this particular supplier, I'm ticking the box to say for ES Precision Maintenance, this particular supply, if their invoices are all valid, allow them straight through. That is a very useful feature. It puts you in control of all the automation within the solution, and you can start off slowly and pick up as you trust the solution more and more. Right, okay, so this is a non-PO invoice. The purchase order fields have been removed from the screen. You'll notice in the lines you no longer have a PO number and a PO line number, but what you do have are all the other fields that apply to this non-PO invoice. Incidentally, you can create as many header fields and bespoke fields in this as you like. You can make those fields trainable so that you can train it to extract that data from the invoice. For our US projects, we usually have a load more tax fields down here. We usually have a state tax, sometimes a city tax, and we usually have miscellaneous charges and things that apply more to your tax system that you're used to. But this is quite a simple demo, so there aren't that many fields created in this particular demo. Likewise, the same happens for the lines. You can create more columns and you can extract any number of fields from the lines, any information that you like, and it does not need to have a flat line format like this. It can actually extract from quite complex line formats. We've got a few minutes available, so I'll just quickly show you that if I click this button here, this is the facility that allows you to train the lines. So here what you would do is you just select the actual column, and then you highlight around the text on the line that you want to extract, and then you go to the next column, and when you're finished you click on the OK button and it brings in all the lines, and you've then trained that invoice for the line extraction. That was a very quick a quick sort of demo of that. I didn't really train it properly, but it is that is how you train it. It's very quick and simple. So you don't need to pass this task off to a developer or to a third-party company. You train them as you go along because it's so quick and convenient. It makes it simple for you to train it as you see the invoice. Right, as this is a non-PO invoice, I need to do the GL coding. And there is, you'll notice next to the item lines tab, there is now an accounting tab. And this is where you do your GL coding. In the GL coding, you can add GL coding rows, and you can add the rows in like this. Now, you can have it that it will create a GL accounting row automatically, one per invoice line. Or if you like, you can put your GL coding fields onto the invoice line itself. So that's a way you can extend the product by creating bespoke columns for your GL coding. But the standard accounting and GL coding functionality is that you could split the invoice value, and you may want to split the invoice value perhaps two ways. So perhaps there are two departments in your business that are sharing the cost for the invoice, and therefore you want to split the invoice. So if I select a GL account code, so I just select one at random, I could then put half the invoice value in here, and it's immediately complaining to say that this does not balance with the full invoice value. So I'll add a new line. when I add a new line, it automatically puts the remaining amount onto that line, and then I can select another GL code for that remaining amount. You've got the debit credit columns. You can also add other GL columns to this. So if you've got GL dimensions or segments that you use, some people have the unit code, the nature code, if it's XA, or you might have commonly, I think there's 7 or 9 dimensions for some ERPs. We work with M3 as well. We work with System 21, XA, quite a few other different ERPs, and they've all got their different methods. And you are able to also define different GL accounting structures with different columns for GL coding as well. So that is very helpful. The GL account coding is also trainable in that it creates templates. So for this supplier, it will remember the proportion of the cost of that invoice allocated to each GL code, and it will remember which GL codes that you've assigned for that invoice. And the next time it gets an invoice from that supplier, it's able to automatically fill out this GL accounting table for you. You do need to be using the accounting tab for it to do that automated functionality, but it can automatically do the GL coding for you. Some people would find that's not suitable because it's different every time. Some people would find that helpful. It's really down to your individual company and how you need to do your GL coding. So we've done the GL coding. We've checked the item lines. Everything's correct here. I've just got the one warning triangle on the invoice number because, again, it's just a duplicate invoice. So I'm going to override that error, and everything's correct. But it now needs to be approved because it's a non-PO invoice. So I'll just say in the comments up here, please check and approve. And this is a comment that everybody using the invoice gets the chance to put a comment in. So I've added my comment. I've got my user ID here, the comment, and it goes into the comment history. I can't change previous comments, but I can view them. And everybody who sees the invoice can add comments, and you get a dialogue building up. So when I click on OK for this invoice, it will then go into a workflow for approval. And what I'll do is I'll go to the In Progress tab. I'll just refresh it, and you can see on the status it says document approval in progress for this particular one here. If I move across, you can see the workflow here says approval workflow, and the current approver is the approval user 1. So what I can do very quickly is log out and log in as approval user 1, and then you'll be able to see the approval process. So logging in here as approval user 1, and I come back up to the same screen. I'm on the assigned to me list. This time the invoice has come directly to me. If you can also send the invoice to a group of users, and if you are a member of that group, you will see the invoice in your assigned to me list. There are also approval hierarchies that are available as standard within the application. So you get linear approval, which escalates the approval up the value levels for invoices. You can also have parallel approval. There are 4 different hierarchies, or you can create your own hierarchies that are bespoke as well for approval. On this invoice, all I need to do to approve it is click the OK button. Just to show you very quickly in the bottom left, you've got the approval workflow, and it's a 2-step approval. It will go in this case from approval user 1 to approval user 2. So I've got two users in this workflow as 2 steps in the approval, and it's very simple like that. So I can reject it. I can do a request for information. This is very helpful. You can actually email people from within the app, and it will put the invoice on hold automatically and prompt for your response when it comes back. So that's very helpful. Also, you can add comments. You can see previous comments, and you can put the invoice on hold. If you do that, you can select a price query. So you don't have to approve it. You can wait and put it on hold. So it gives you that flexibility that you need. I'm just going to click OK. Right. So that's now gone to the second approver. But what I'm going to quickly do now is log on as the admin person. I think we've finished with the invoice processing. And if I log on as an admin person, I can just quickly show you that we do also have an analytics module available. And from here, we can open the analytics. It's possible to have a user created with all the permissions with just the analytics permission provided if you want a reporting user. So the permissions for users are very detailed. You can always separate off all the permission areas. In here, we've got our dashboard. You've got your workload. And the menus here show the workload where you can look at the accrual values. So any invoices currently in the solution that have not been sent to your ERP yet, it will give you the breakdown of those invoice values, and it will break it down also within each invoice by GL code. That's very helpful. You've also got all the analysis by work queue, due date, users, rejected, various things. You've got the volumes, so this will be a sort of number crunching based on the invoice volumes, and you can also analyze the performance. You've got verification times by users, verification velocity, extraction, and you've got some submenus coming out here. So there's a number of reporting options in here, and each option can give you some different parameters to fill out on the screen as well. So that concludes the demonstration. I should say, just before I hand over to Carl, that you do get notifications in the solution as well. So at every stage of the way, you can be notified via email, and there is also a mobile phone application that you can use to approve and deal with invoices on your mobile. So if you are out and about, you can get the notification on your mobile, and then you can go in and approve an invoice or reject it on the mobile as well.
Thanks, John. Right, so thanks, John, again. I'm going to summarize. Cobwebb are the experts in AP automation, document automation for Infor customers running on I. Lots of experience, 80% of our customers running on I. So yeah, we're the people to talk to. The platform we're using, as we mentioned, it's runs on tungsten technology. It's using the latest technology. It's as I said, it's a cloud-based solution. You're always on the latest version, and some of the criticisms around IntelliChief were around the technologies lagging behind. This platform is industry leading. Leading edge, and as I mentioned earlier as well, they have a new version coming out in Q3 this year. New UI, more reporting and analytics, and AI embedded within the application. So it's a very modern, developed platform. There's an inbuilt. John touched on the extraction, and as I've mentioned, hundreds of millions of invoices going through this platform, and the layouts of these invoices are retained as a knowledge base. So the extraction success that we get from this platform is as good as anything we've ever used. But they've now added in the first pass extraction using AI. It's even better than it was before. So it's when it comes to extraction, the performance is excellent. If you have new suppliers, the first pass extraction is really good. If you have suppliers changing formats, and with IntelliChief you have to go in and change the template, that's not a thing here. You don't have to do that. And if you do need to teach the software where a piece of information is, it didn't get it first time, then it learns from that, so it gets better. Beyond invoices, there are other documents that we can bring in. So yes, we always start with supplier invoices here. It's predominantly an invoice extraction platform, but beyond that, we can do things like delivery notes, sales orders, remittances. So you can extend beyond this. And finally, I'll mention the e-invoicing portal. Now, I know that e-invoicing is not a thing in the US at the moment, and could be a long way off. But it might be that some of your businesses, you might have businesses located in areas where e-invoicing is a requirement, Europe or Latin America. So if that's the case, then there is an e-invoice portal that can support that plugs into the platform, and it comes with the platform. Yeah, so it's connected and comes with the platform, so you can choose to use it or not. But I wanted to highlight the fact that it's there. So right. I think that's it. Right, let's move on to some questions. I believe we've got a couple. Let me see if I can get to those questions.
I can see the questions, Carl, if you'd like me to take any.
If you could, John, because I cannot see them right now.
Okay, right. First of all, how does Cobweb get the purchase order information? Yeah, really good question. How does it get any information? Because it also gets the supplier information, and it also has to communicate. So that would be the inputs to the system. It's also got to send the invoices through with the data as well. So it's got a two-way information flow. Cobweb creates what we call the Cobweb connector. And the connector software is a bit of middleware that connects your platform, your ERP, to this cloud application. So we can provide the connector on-prem or in the cloud, fully in the cloud. We indeed develop both solutions for different ERPs. When it's cloud-based, we usually have to use the APIs from your ERP to obtain the information. And that information is triggered on a very regular basis. We can set that being maybe supplier updates daily or hourly. Purchase order updates could be daily, hourly, or half hourly, or even perhaps more frequently. It's not real time, but it is an interval based refreshing of all that data to keep it up to date. And likewise, we also connect up to the cloud application using the connector to download the invoices and then to process those and send it to the ERP. And there are different, obviously, methods used to send it to the ERP. We implement solutions through Infor OS, but also through directly into interfaces on IBM I physical files, populating data files there. So usually it's the Cobweb connector that obtains the information. And if it's on-prem, it could be using SQL stored procedures, which is commonly used because we can separate the, it gives you a level of security. We're not accessing your data directly. And then the other method would be API. That's the fully cloud compliant. Okay. Next question is your solution trained for multiple languages? Yes, it is.
Yes.
There are a lot of languages. I haven't got the list to hand at the moment.
We could take that question, John, and when we go offline, take a screenshot of the languages and for the invoices and the UI, and then we can provide that afterwards.
Yes, in terms of internationalization, it uses templates for invoices for different countries and different tax legislations, and it basically can use different field templates for invoices, but you can then add in all your bespoke fields or all your extra bespoke functionality you need. That's not linked to the language. The language extraction is available from every different template from every different country, so it's very flexible on the languages. Okay, you've probably saw on my screen, you might have seen UK or European date formats as well, but when you're using the browser, it will be within the US locale or wherever you're using it, and you'll see the dates in your appropriate format. So, and the same for different languages. There are a number of languages supported, not all, so it's probably worth checking that's within the user interface.
Yeah.
Okay, and does your solution support PEPL? Well, the answer is yes, but what we have demonstrated today is based on the Tungsten solution called AP Essentials. And that solution, we also deliver solutions with the Tungsten e-Invoice Connect, which actually supports PEPL. And e-Invoice Connect and AP Essentials are both Tungsten products that work hand in hand. There are integrations built into the applications to be able to communicate between both of them. So, for example, you can receive updates from invoice statuses between the applications. It's also possible to receive invoices via PEPL that would come into the Tungsten e-Invoice Connect, and then you can send that invoice straight through to the platform that I've showed you today, so that the invoice would appear. It can create a visual image. Obviously, for receiving invoices through e-invoicing, you're looking at data standards in XML, and very often that might be directly integrated with the ERP. But if you do want a visual image to be processed, then a visual image can be created. So a PDF is created out of that e-invoice, and it can automatically be sent over to the solution I've showed you today and extracted and processed in the normal way. And that is a very easy way to onboard and to start implementing your e-invoicing solution.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just go to the bottom of the list to see if there's any other questions. GDPR compliant. Yes, it is. Now, Carl, I don't know about the compliances on this, but I know there's a huge website that
Yes.
Tungsten have with all their compliances.
We can take that one. We can take that one offline, and we can share their. I think it's called Tungsten Trust or something like that, isn't it? The website with all their certifications and everything they're compliant with. So we can take that offline and share that.
Great, thank you. And lastly, does it support Chinese? I haven't actually implemented a solution for Chinese in China yet, so I don't know the answer to that question. I think we'll need to come back
Chinese,
to that.
but we'd need to, as per the question around languages and UI, then I think we can wrap that one in with that question, with the previous question. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Those are, I think that completes the questions on the chat list here.
Okay. Well, we've got a few minutes left, and I've got a list of questions here that I regularly hear when we're in conversations with customers and prospects. So I will just finish with a few questions that I often hear, and then we'll finish off. Yeah. So I often get asked how the product is licensed. So it's pretty simple. It's just licensed by the number of invoices being processed per annum through the platform. So it's not based on the number of users that you want to put in there for verification users or workflow approval users. It's just the number of invoices being processed via the platform per annum, and it goes up in increments of 10,000. So starts at 10,000 invoices per annum, and so on. We keep getting asked about AI. AI is the big thing at the moment, isn't it, folks? So I'm always asked about AI. How is AI used in the system? So first of all, we've got that first pass. So AI is utilized when the invoice is first seen, and AI looks to extract the data from the invoice. And then after that, we're using some of the other methods in there, like machine learning. First of all, the extraction. There is something called the Copilot, which allows you to pull up a chat box and interrogate the data behind, or within the application. So using natural language, you can type how many invoices have I had from X supplier this month, and it'll pull it back. Show me the invoices. It'll pull them up. What was the value of those invoices in total? It'll pull it up. So that's another example. Version 2, I've mentioned it a couple of times. They are introducing AI agents in there. So AI agents will be able to take on tasks, things like automatically validating or automatically routing error handling, things to reduce the burden on the AP team. But yes, there is it is being built upon the AI functionality.
Would you like me to show the AI screen? I forgot to show that during my demonstration. I've got it available if you'd like me to show it now.
Go on then, John. We've got 3 minutes.
Right, okay. Could you stop sharing, and I'll just
I will stop sharing, and then you can share away. But yeah, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so at least it'll be on the recording and people will see it at the end, John, if they have to drop off.
Thank you. Right, so hopefully you can see my screen now. I have gone into an invoice, so I've come. This is the list. Let's just go into any invoice and start validating it. And we have the co-pilots up here, so you can start your chat session with co-pilots. And just to be very quick, I have a question that I want to ask it. Show me the last 5 invoices from this supplier. And it usually will come back within a few seconds, and it's listing those 5 invoices. And you could say things like, you can, when was the, I don't know, the last invoice received? I think it will just show, I think it will actually show the invoice itself. So it's giving me the information there, and you can ask it about the value of the invoices and calculations, that sort of thing. So this is the very useful way to be able to get immediate information about your invoices as you're processing them.
Yeah, thank you, John. One last question that I'm going to cover, guys, before we finish up. One that I'm always asked as well. What is the typical length of a project? So it does depend on complexity. It depends on the number of business entities. But we usually are looking at something between 3 and 6 months. A bit more complex, might be a couple of additional months, but that's really the sort of timescales we're looking at. I think that is it. Look, thank you to everybody for joining. Thanks for the questions. Really appreciate it. We will pick up on the questions that we haven't managed to answer around language and GDPR, and we'll share the feedback on that as soon as we can. And if you want to learn more, you want to understand what this solution can do for your business, you want to talk about your particular process and how we might be able to support you to streamline that or automate some of it, then by all means get in touch. We'd be happy to speak to you. Thanks again,
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.